So I'll start my talk off with a story. Back in September of 2018, I was in Bangalore for a female financial inclusion project that I was leading. I was in a client presentation. I was showing them some of the prototypes we had created, a simple envelope that women could carry around and collect small change in. And the client stopped me mid-presentation and they said, "This is not going to work. We've already tried this before. It does not work." And then they proceeded to show me what they had tried. So he brought out a plastic wallet. It looked a bit like those business card holders we used to have. He took out a 100-rupee note from his pocket, put it into the plastic wallet, closed it up, and dropped it right into his shirt breast pocket. Now, I looked at my own chest in that moment and failed to find a breast pocket of my own. And I thought about the women I would be user testing with later that week. No shirt breast pocket there either. Now, this was a team that was staffed on a women's focus project, an active women focus, and yet they had so easily forgotten about them. The thing is, we forget about women a lot. I'm really happy that the first raffle was the Invisible Women book, because in her book, Caroline Criado Perez says that male universality is one of the leading causes of gender gaps that we see around the world. That we position women, half of the world's population, as a minority is setting them up to be forgettable, dispensable, invisible. So we forget about women a lot. We forget about women in tech. Voice recognition technologies have known to mock words that matter to women more, such as raped or being hit. We forget about women in finance. The gender pension gaps around the world continue to exist because they don't take into account how women's lives are different. And we even forget women in healthcare. Heart attacks are known to go misdiagnosed in women because our symptoms are unique, but they're not recognized as such. And now there are growing stories about health AI producing medical advice unfit for the female body. Thank you, Hele, for having me here. Thank you to you all for being here. Hi, I'm Mansi. My name, and as the founder of Unconform, I spend all of my time thinking about the intersection of design and women, or its lack thereof. I've spent the last year leading design projects in the social impact space with a women's focus. And I'm on a journey to find out why is it that we forget about women, and what becomes possible if we only started every project by asking, what about women? Now, there's many reasons we forget about women, but the one I want to talk about today is in relation to design. One reason that we forget about women is because our current design methodologies are prone to falling short of meeting women's needs. Under the guise of designing for everyone, under the guise of being human-centered, user-centered, or so-called gender-neutral, our design methodologies today are prone to producing one-size-fits-men outcomes. And we're starting to see this in many fields, but here's one recent example. A study on accelerator and incubator programming showed that the investment readiness gap between men and women founders increases by the time of cohort graduation. This is because accelerator content and programming is so-called gender neutral, and it does not take into account the unique barriers that women face in their fundraising journeys. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a human-centered designer who was on many women's focused projects before, and to learn that my own toolkit is biased against women was a hard awakening for me. But I realized I wasn't alone. There are many well-intentioned, inclusion-inclined practitioners in the world right now trying to do this exact same work. But what I found is that we're often so stuck in the why conversation. Why should we design for women? What's the business case to design for women? What's the moral case to design for women? And maybe that might be a worthwhile conversation to have. We also need to find the courage to ask, how might we design for women? how can we start to imagine the possibilities if we only started every project by asking, what about women? And so to do that, we first need to take a step back and understand the ways in which our world has been ignoring women and creating unintended consequences for them. And in order to do this, I want to share with you a simple tool that I've created called the women-centric eye. The women-centric eye has 4 modes, and it helps you look at the world's experiences through how women might experience them. It's got offensive, impartial, informed, and holistic. And I'll take you through each of these with a few examples.